never forget, Bob, the first time I heard you teach on Luke 2:52. I was stunned. You know, all of us as Christians have read that passage dozens, maybe hundreds of times. Right. But you just sort of skip over it because it's such a small passage. You never think about it. And I remember you were going to teach on it. I thought, what is he going to teach on this? And it was absolutely profound. What caused you to share this passage with the world?
One day I was with a friend of mine who was a former NAF pilot, and we were driving down to Saltillo, Mexico to do a course for high school students in cultural anthropology. And these were kids who were interested in missions. And my friend said, "Have you ever considered Luke 2:52?" And I said, "What is that?" And he talked about, this little verse, which seems like a tag. The last verse of chapter 2 of Luke.
A throwaway.
And he said, Bob, I think there is a profound depth in that little verse. And so we started to talk about it. And I began to realize that this verse was a description of God's intentions for the only perfect human being who ever lived.
That's powerful.
And the description was holistic. It wasn't just spiritual. And this is the Holy Spirit instructing Luke on what God's intentions were for his baby, his son. And it didn't even start off with spiritual things. And Jesus grew in wisdom. Not intellectually. He grew in wisdom, which includes the intellectual domain. He grew physically, and then spiritually, and then socially. And, being sort of an amateur anthropologist, and having studied Maslow and his incredibly complex classification of human need and human development, I began to ask the question, could all of human development fit into those 4 categories? And I began to think, it could. All of human need, all of human development, all of God's intentions for us as human beings can be reflected in that little throwaway verse.